Okay, we get an equation that has an equal sign in it. Our next step is going to be looking at simplifying each side of the equation. For right now, collecting like terms is probably about the only thing that we're going to have to do in this step. We will add the other steps as we move through this chapter. So we look to see, is there anything on the left side of the equal sign that needs to be collected? Is there anything on the right side that needs to be collected? Okay, after we are confident that it has been simplified, our next step is to add or subtract the same value to both sides of the equation. We're going to look for variables first. We are going to look to see, do we have variables on both sides of the equation? And then we'll look for constants second. Okay, and after we've added or subtracted, we'll multiply or divide. And after that, we should have our solution. Let's look at some examples that we are going to solve. So when I look at this first question, 5n minus 8n equals n plus 8. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at just the left side of the equation, and I notice that I can collect these like terms. 5n minus 8n is negative 3n. Okay, now I look at the right side. N plus 8 has already been collected, so I'm just going to rewrite n plus 8. I'm also going to put a 1 for the coefficient in front of n. It's going to help me with moving the variable over to the other side. Okay, simplifying is done. Now add or subtract. I notice that there are variables on both sides of the equation. I have a choice to move minus 3n over to the right side, or I can move 1n over to the left side. Because of this constant plus 8 being on the right side, I'm going to choose to move the variable that is on the right side. Okay, so then in order to get rid of it, I will do the opposite operation. 1n minus 1n cancels out. And now let's calculate what it would be on the left side. Negative 3n minus 1n is negative 4n equals 8 on the right side. Okay, following our steps, my next step is to divide both sides by negative 4. The reason I'm dividing by negative 4 is because this expression right here is negative 4n, which means negative 4 times n. So dividing would be the opposite. Okay, this cancels out so that I have a positive n equals 8 divided by negative 4 is negative 2. And remember, you can go back to your calculator and check your answer. So you can substitute in and see if your left side equals your right side. Okay, I'll just do a check on this one just to show you how it works. So 5 times negative 2 minus 8 times negative 2. Negative 10. Negative 8 times negative 2 is positive 16. And this equals positive 6. Okay, that's on the left side. On the right side, negative 2 plus 8 is positive 6. So my left side equals my right side. So I know and I am confident that my solution is perfect. Okay, next question. We have 5x plus 1 equals 4x plus 7. So I notice that there are variables on each side of the equation. I also notice that nothing needs to be simplified. So I'm going to move to the step of adding or subtracting. Because there are variables on both sides, I can either choose to move the 5x over to the right side or the 4x over to the left side. It doesn't matter. This answer will be the same either way. I'm going to choose to move the 4x. So this is plus 4x, so minus 4x. We'll get rid of it on the right side, and I will do the same on the left. Okay, 5x minus 4x is 1x, plus 1 equals 7. Okay, now I see there's constants that I can get rid of this plus 1 constant by subtracting. So x equals 6. Okay, our last question. So going through the steps, I'm looking at the left side, nothing needs to be simplified. Looking at the right side, nothing needs to be simplified. I notice there are variables on both sides of the equation. I am going to choose to move the 7y, so it's plus 7y. I will minus 7y from both sides. The reason I'm choosing to move this over to the left side is because then it would leave negative 12 all by itself over on this side, which is exactly what I want it to do, is have the constant by itself. All right, 3y minus 7y is negative 4y equals negative 12. Okay, this get canceled out. Now, divide both sides by negative 4, and y equals positive 3. I don't need to write the positive in there, but just because it was a negative divided by a negative, I'm just making sure that I'm showing that I remembered to do that portion with the sign. All right, we're going to stop here, and I'd like you to answer a few multiple choice questions, just seeing how you are doing with this, and we will be back soon together to finish the rest of the questions. All right, how did you do on those questions? Hopefully you did good and were able to answer them. Let's finish answering this with you being able to anticipate what the steps are before I write them down. Okay, 2x equals negative 30 plus 5x. Both sides of the equation have been simplified, so I am going to move 5x over to the left side. It's plus 5x, so I will minus 5x to both sides. 2x minus 5x is negative 3x. On the right side, it equals negative 30. To isolate the variable, I will divide both sides by negative 3. So x equals positive 10. Next question. I notice on the left side here that these are both variables, the variable n. I can collect like terms. So 6n plus 4n is 10n equals 20 plus 5n. Okay, and variables on both sides, I'm going to choose to move the 5n over to the left side. 10n minus 5n is 5n equals 20. And divide both sides by 5. N equals 4. All right, last question. This time in this one, I'm going to choose to move the 7 over to the right side. The reason I'm going to do that is just showing you it does not matter. It makes it easier when you have a scenario of just a variable, no constant. It is so much easier if you choose to take the side that has a constant variable and move that variable over to this side. But when you have a scenario like this last question here, where it's a variable portion and a constant, and a variable portion, it doesn't matter what you choose to move where. Okay, so what am I left with? Negative 0.3 equals 2.7 minus. I'll write that a little bit nicer. Okay, 2.7 minus 3y. Okay, here's the side with the variables. So now I'm going to move 2.7 over to the left side. So subtract 2.7 minus 2.7. 0.3 minus 2.7 is negative 3.0 equals negative 3y. Divide both sides by negative 3. And I am equal to positive 1. Y equals positive 1, or 1 equals y. Okay, one more question for you to try, and then we'll finish our last question. All right, our last question is a word problem, and we will be doing a section where we just look at word problems and come up with the equation. But for the assignments that you're given now, they actually have a scenario around an equation, but they actually will give you the equation. So that's what we're going to do today. So the average wind speed in Newfoundland, in Bonavista, Newfoundland, is twice the average wind speed in Whitehorse, Yukon Territory. The difference between the wind speed is 14 kilometers per hour. Solve the equation below to find the average wind speed in Whitehorse. So here, they're telling me that x is the wind speed in Whitehorse. All right, let's solve this equation. So here, I notice there's variables on each side, and this variable is alone. So I'm going to choose to minus 2x from both sides. So on the left side, I'm left with negative 14. And on the right side, 1 minus 2, or 1x minus 2x, is negative 1x. So I can divide both sides by negative 1, and x is equal to 14, or 14 equals x. So the average wind speed is 14 kilometers per hour. The speed is 14 kilometers per hour. All right, we're going to stop there for today, and good luck with your questions as you work through them. And if you need any help, please don't hesitate to ask one of your teachers.